Isn't it a beautiful day? This is a great day and a wonderful day. Welcome to another live broadcast of Win with Willie Leadership Talk Show. And you know, I always start out, this is still the year of 2022, and the year of 2022, the year of no excuses. You and I must inspire until we expire. Make sure you hold on to that, folks. We must inspire until we expire. Thank you for joining another broadcast of Win with Willie Leadership Talk Show. What you and I do not see, what most of us never suspect of existing, is a silent but irresistible power which comes to the rescue of those who fight on in the face of discouragement. And that's by Napoleon Hill. I love that quote because we all have that silent, irresistible power to fight on in the face of discouragement and opposition. And Win with Willie Leadership Talk Show is about encouraging us to fight on, to lead on, to serve on, to grow on reaching our God-given potential and becoming the best version of ourselves. See, the best gift that you and I can give our family, our community, and our organization is the best version of ourselves. And how do you and I become the best version of ourselves? We must first learn to lead ourselves, because you and I cannot give what we do not have. And today I have a person that's giving. I mean, this gentleman is giving. Ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure of having the Reverend Dr. Irvin Barrett, a 30-year pastoral leader, on the show today. Allow me to read his extensive bio. Reverend Dr. Irvin Barrett has dedicated his life to serving. Irvin Barrett was born in a strong religious family in Broadview, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago. And guess what? Pastor Samuel L. Barrett was his father. And so that lets you know right there, the structure was there. Growing up, Irvin served as an altar attendant, a junior deacon, a deacon within the church. Feeling a calling on his life, he preached his first sermon at the age of 15. Reverend Barrett is currently enjoying his third pastoral leadership in the historical Sunlight Missionary Baptist Church in Beaumont, Texas. He served as a treasurer of the National Presidents, moderator, pastor and minister conference, a member of the Beaumont Area Pastoral Council, Ministers Union of Beaumont, Texas, the Missionary Baptist Church General Convention of Texas, and is General Bowen District Association Junior Woman sponsor. Reverend across the community as he serves as the president of the Ministers Conference, the Concerned Clergy Coalition of Golden Triangle, Northeast Houston Interfaith Council, and the vice chairman of the Evangelical Board. Outside of ministry, Reverend Barrett continued his life mission to serve others as the Beaumont Independent School District key communicators and Lamar Elementary College campus. He is a Beaumont Clergy Police Officer, Clergy and Policy Partnership, and devotional contributor for the Beaumont Police Association newsletter. In his spare time, I'm thinking, when does he have any spare time? Reverend Barrett works with the youth recovery communities and foster community dialogue. He has been a licensed insurance agent for 20 plus years. Reverend Barrett has been a pastor for over 30 years. He has 2 honorary doctorate degrees in biblical studies from Julian King University in Houston, Texas, and Midwest Theological Institute in Chicago, Illinois. Currently, continual education. Currently, he's pursuing a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's degree in theology. Reverend, this is what's most important right here. I've said all that other stuff, but this is what's important. Irvin Barrett has been married to his wife, Nicolette, for 28 years, and they have 2 beautiful children, Irvin II and Nadia. Reverend Barrett and his family reside in the great city of Allen, Texas. Reverend Barrett, Dr. Barrett, say hello to my audience, sir, your audience now.
Wow, thank you, Professor Jeff. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. I'm excited about this opportunity.
Well, I'm excited to have you on this show. This is a special time. This is a divine connection. I truly believe that. You and I have talked about that prior to coming on the show, that this is a divine connection. You resided in Allen, Texas, and what you're doing throughout, not only in Allen, Texas, but Beaumont, Texas, and throughout this country. It's an honor and a privilege to have you on the show today. I'd like to just open
Thank
up
you.
the talk show with something fun. And you are Texas. Well, you're really not a Texan. You got here as fast as you can from Chicago,
Right,
Illinois. And thank you for
right.
bringing the greatness from Chicago down here to Texas and adding so much value to us Texas folks as well. Tell us something interesting about Irvin Barrett, some fun facts about Irvin Barrett.
Well, I am a legendary golfer in my mind, and
Mm. You guys
in
hear
my
that?
mind.
In my mind, you and I about the same. I'm a legendary golfer in my dreams.
But I do love the game. I do love the game, and that's an area that I definitely would love to aspire to. Maybe in another life, that maybe I can be a professional golfer. But I love the game. Love the game. Love it being out in the open air and being able to view what God has created out in the open atmosphere.
You think when you get to heaven that you and Jesus are going to be playing golf? What do you think? You think you got
I
golf clubs
sure,
in heaven
I
for?
sure hope so. I sure hope so.
Absolutely. Well, after Sunday's preaching, you have the tie on, you're all dressed up, looking good. When you take that tie off, what's the first thing you do when you get home?
Wow. Probably grab some food and relax, chat with the family, talk about the day, and actually probably more than anything else, the dog is the one who greets me and makes sure that I see him before anything happens. And so, our fur babies are the main focus when we walk in the house. I can leave home for 5 minutes and come back, and it's like I've been gone for 3 weeks. And so that's the joy of my home.
It doesn't matter. They still love you, don't they? No matter what you do. When you
They
don't feed them, they still love you,
totally,
don't they?
totally,
They still
totally,
love you.
totally.
You did mention food. I heard you say that. You did mention food. Now,
Yeah,
being
yeah,
from Chicago, you've been in Beaumont, Texas. Now you're in Allen, Texas. So you have migrated from the Midwest to the South. And I think we like our food in the South. You
yeah,
probably
yeah.
sensed it already. So being in Beaumont, Texas, you right there on the border of Texas. What's your favorite dessert? Now let's not talk about the Midwestern dessert. Now that you've adjusted to
Oh
East
wow.
Texas, let's talk about some desserts in Southeast Texas that you have really migrated to and love right now.
And see, now you're getting into an area that is a pet peeve for me, because you talk about sweets and desserts. I think you can probably tell from all of this that I'm big on the sweets. Probably, I love anything sweet. I love, but definitely your um, what is it? Pecan pie is high on my list. Um, Lemon cakes are high on my list. German chocolate cakes. I can go on and on. You'll have to stop me if I don't stop
Okay,
myself.
all right, let's all right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to stop him right now about this
Please,
dessert because
please.
he's going to have people out there thinking about going out and getting some food. I know it's lunchtime somewhere. It's
Yeah,
lunchtime at 11 o'clock Central. And it's probably 12 o'clock Eastern. But on the West Coast, they still having brunch right
right.
now. 28 years of marriage, I'm sure. What's your favorite vacation spot? What do you like to R&R? What do you like to travel for R&R?
The favorite place that I've been, that we hope to go back soon, is the Hawaiian Islands. I probably had the best time there that I've had anywhere, and we haven't traveled much because I'm a workaholic. I'm kind of old school in that I was taught, you gotta keep working to achieve. You can't slow down. You don't want to lose momentum, and so my wife is constantly on me about taking vacations, taking time. which I intend to do more in this phase of my life than I have in the younger years as I was establishing a foundation. But we had the opportunity to go to Hawaii a few years back, and it was just breathtaking. I mean, I love the area, love the food, love the people. The atmosphere was great, and so if I can return there and spend some time there and walk on the beach and watch the sunset and just admire the beauty of it, I would love that. Definitely love that.
Absolutely. Well, I believe hopefully Miss Barrett is watching the show today somewhere, listening in, maybe just listening in. She's picking up these tidbits about going back, returning to Hawaii. And so, Miss Barrett, First Lady Barrett, start scheduling the vacation. Start looking, call your travel agent right now. And by the way, Jenny, thanks for watching, because this is what Jenny Sue has said. She said, I could continue to have that more conversation about food. And so,
exactly. Good to see you, Jen. I have to be careful, Jen. I can't, at this stage of my life, when I talk about food, I put weight on.
Okay. Just thinking about it, how you put weight
exactly.
on. Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks, Jenny. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate your attendance today. Well, let's talk. It's good to see. She said, good to see you, Irvin. So you got folks. You have a fan club out there, Dr. Barrett already. Now let's get into some, now that life is about laughter. Yes. Life is about having fun. But still, let's talk about your leadership journey. You have been a pastor for 30 years. Tell the listeners about your leadership journey and how did you get to where you are today? You just didn't wake up one day and all of a sudden we're going to talk about the other thing that you're running for here very shortly, but talk about your leadership journey, because everything rises and falls on leadership. No matter who we are, it still surrounds with the theme of leadership. So talk about that for a few moments.
I appreciate that, Professor. And I started a long time ago, and I started very early. And I have to say that, being a son of a pastor, son of a minister, that I guess I was groomed at an early age for leadership roles and responsibilities. Through school, through personal experiences, I've always been involved in areas where I've been allowed to lead, chosen to lead, and kind of groomed for that purpose. Can't say that initially coming out of the box that I was a great leader, and I'm still developing as a leader. But I'm grateful that over the course of time, I've been able to apply myself to some leadership training, knowledge, readings, motivational self-help, and inspirational material that has kind of helped to focus me on some key components of leadership to be able to lead effectively and to help people as they aspire into various aspects of life and living. So I've been able to lead not just in the religious community, I've been able to lead in the workforce as well. Being in management very early on as a young man. One of the roles that I pride myself in early on is being a manager of a cellular phone company with men that were sometimes twice and double my age or triple my age, men in their 60s and 70s that I had the opportunity of leading. But I had a good man who taught me well and who kind of gave me an opportunity and poured a lot into me. So leadership has been a development stage for me down through the years. I still think I'm developing as a leader. I still think I'm growing. I don't think that I'll ever stop growing as a leader, especially as a servant leader, because it's about giving back and recognizing that your service to others is far more important than your service to yourself.
Listen to that. You just dropped quite a few leadership concepts and principles that we all need to apply. Leadership is about serving others. Leadership is about continuing growing. A phrase that I use quite often, I grow so others can grow.
Yes.
I become a growth culture. I create a growth culture. And now as I grow, everything around me gets better. And that's the focus of servant leadership and serving others. And that's a commitment to self-development. And that way you can add value to others, because as I stated earlier, you and I cannot give what we do not have. And that's so significant to hear that from church leaders. I work with a lot of pastors. I work with a lot of church leaders. And so I'm probably going to take you on the road with me. My next pastoral counseling, next pastoral workshop I do, I'm going to come get Dr. Reverend Irvin Barrett, and you're going to go on the road with me. You're going to help me teach this lesson to my pastors out there and help them grow as well. Absolutely.
Especially with the changing roles of ministry, you've got to be prepared today. Ministry is not what it was in my dad's time, not even what it was when I started 30 years ago. It's constantly evolving, and the pandemic has definitely created a shift. So we definitely have to prepare. So I'm ready. Bags are packed. Tell me when.
When you made a key point, Dr. Barrett, you said church services has changed significantly, and the pandemic has caused us to pivot. What are the pivots that you have seen within your congregation, within your church, to be able to adjust to the pandemic and then to go and to work through the pandemic? What some of the things that you did to make that adjustment?
Well, it's ironic, but when things were developing, I remember a conversation that I had as we were on a conference call, making some plans as the pandemic was developing. And I remember saying to some leaders, I said, well, we're going to need to shut down, and we'll give it a couple of weeks or so and allow this to pass. And we should be ready to reconvene. After speaking with our police chief in Beaumont, he said, this thing's going to be pretty bad. So you need to tell your people to bunker down and kind of get prepared. I had no idea that the pandemic was going to last the time that it did. I'm still in shock that it lasted the amount of time that it did. Was not prepared for it, not thinking that it would last that long. In fact, as I said that, within a few weeks, we should be back into worship. But as things developed and we saw what was happening and how things were closing down all around us, we had to kind of reinvent what ministry was. We weren't prepared to take our church online, but we were forced to. We weren't prepared to take our services online, but we were forced to. And at that time, we had to figure out a way to reach people and to encourage people and to inspire people in the midst of what was happening all around us. And that was when we began having online worship for those for our church and for our parishioners. Quite naturally, it was disastrous at first because of the learning curve that we needed to go through. Our very first service, because we were as well versed with Zoom, was hacked by trolls, which was just a horrible experience that still keeps me in shock and on guard because of what was taking place at that time. We safeguarded that and prepared for it. And we continue to do it because, believe it or not, there are those who still have not returned into worship. There's still some who they don't feel comfortable and don't feel secure coming out. And so they're still watching online. And so we've continued that platform. We're ministering on a different level. And we've approached worship on a different level as a result of what took place surrounding COVID and the virus experience.
Absolutely. And you just gave a phenomenal lesson of what I call leading through a crisis and turning that adversity into an advantage, because you still have to inspire, you still have to encourage, you still have to find a way to be able to reach people, because if you don't have an opportunity to reach out to people in the midst of what's going on, some people are not going to come out. They're not comfortable coming out yet, but they're still part of your ministry. They're still part of your servant leadership. And you have to find a way to reach those people. Cedric, thank you for watching. Cedric LaFleur is watching. He just made a comment. He said, great show. I just put up one of Cedric's comments right quick. He's a good friend of mine. Thank you for watching, Cedric. Great show so far. And then Cedric also talked about Maui as a very vacation spot. He kind of add to that vacation spot because Cedric is a beach guy. He's a beach comber. I think he's a beach boy. So he loves the beach. And I've been to Maui as well. Absolutely. So Cedric, thank you for participating and thank you for being with us as well. I'm going to put this up right quick, Dr. Barrett, so people know exactly what one of our primary objectives today is this right here. It's Reverend Dr. Irvin Lynn Barrett for Collin County Justice of the Peace, Precinct 3.
Yeah.
You are making for progress. You are making a pivot. you are still serving the community in pastoral work, community organizations, insurance agents. Your whole life is all about one common denominator. And I think that common denominator are people. That's what I sense. Everything about your bio, everything about what you've done, everything about since you've been a little boy serving in the church as a deacon, a junior deacon, it's been all about people.
Right.
And now you're making another pivot to be able to serve people at another level, to reach more people. Talk to me about, of course, I'm sure you get this question quite often, so be prepared to just kind of elaborate. And I won't call you any kind of names that I think you might have been heard before. But the fact is, why did you decide to run and for Justice of the Peace for Collin County, Justice of the Peace, Precinct 3? That's the question I'm sure you get asked quite often, especially in your sphere of influence. Share with my audience, then we'll dive a little further because I want you to be able to continue on is talk about what's the role of the Justice of the Peace, but the why and then the what.
That's an excellent question, Jeff, and I get that question probably on a daily basis. People are wondering, why am I aspiring to be the next Justice of the Peace 3 here in Collin County? Um, I had the opportunity of evaluating a lot over the course of COVID, during shutdown, during periods, and it dawned upon me during that time that I was coming up on 30 years of ministry. The 30 years had kind of gone by as a blur. I didn't realize I was that far into ministry, and I was thinking about what's my next. What am I going to do? Is there going to be a next? Will I just rust out in ministry or die out in ministry, or would I do something else? And I wanted to give back. I wanted to serve in a different capacity. I wanted to do more than I had done and offer more to the community, and really be more of service to people. I felt that there was more that I could do, and instead of slowing down, shutting down, I decided to ramp up, gear up, and do more. And that's where I began looking into the various opportunities, and the Justice of the Peace opportunity came to me as a possible next venture for me. I have thought over the course of time about entering the political realm, but hadn't given very serious thought to it. But as things have unfolded lately in the aspect of politics and governing on the national level and as well on state and local level, I saw that there was a need for good people to be involved. I'm not a perfect person, but I feel that the experience that I've had over the course of years dealing with people as a servant leader, that I could leverage that talent, that I could take what I have learned, the experience that I've had over the course of years from dealing with young people, from dealing with seniors, from dealing with my peers and proteges, that I could leverage that learning and leverage those experiences into the role that I would be seeking, into being a public servant on another level. Believe it or not, Jeff, and I'm sure you can attest to this as well, that um, church roles and responsibilities really prepare us for a lot in the world, because we're dealing with a lot of different people. In fact, there was a time in our history that church training was the only training that we really had. It developed us in so many aspects for working in the world, for interacting with people, for leadership, for fellowship, and for even developing the patience that we need to work with one another. And so I think what I have done over the course of years has prepared me for this moment, and it's somewhat now is starting to make sense that some of the paths that I've taken, some of the paths that God has had me on, the roles that I've had to undertake, has really brought me to this moment and brought me to this place in time. I feel that I am the most qualified in the race that I'm running. I feel that the years of experience that I've had, the various pastorates that I've had, 17 years in Chicago, 14 plus years now here in Texas, and the thousands of people that I've experienced, if not more, over the course of years, has definitely equipped me to have compassion, to have love, to have empathy, to be sympathetic, and to be focused on the needs of the common man. And I think that's what's lacking in our world today. I think that people have lost faith in humanity based upon a lot of things that they see. And even as a pastor, because one thing that people are quick to say, as a pastor, why would you want to do that? I said, well, it's about being a servant leader. It's about giving back. It's about making a difference in the lives of people. And that's what I live for. That's what I long to do.
It's amazing. Dr. Barrett, I tell you what, you just wrote a major chapter in my book about servant leadership, literally, just that alone. Absolutely. You just define what's a servant leader. It doesn't matter the title. It doesn't matter the role. It's just the fact that you have a heart to serve God's people.
Yes.
We all are God's children.
Yes. Yes.
We all are God's. You can serve in the pastoral role. You can serve in the justice of the peace role. You can serve in the insurance agent role. You can serve as a police clergy. It doesn't matter. The focus is the servant of God's people, and then you create another lane, another channel to reach more people.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm hearing you saying.
Correct.
Now, we got the why. Now, most of us, I say most, not all, but some don't know the difference between a JP, your JP, Justice of the Peace, and your judge. Because I know some people that are running for county judge in Collin County, county judge in Dallas County, the county judge in Tarrant County. And I've watched those folks, their campaigns, and I've kind of watched their credentials as well. And the difference in the level of credentials. Some have different credentials. But what is the primary role of the JP, of the Justice of the Peace?
Well, the Justice of the Peace, it's a magistrate judge judicial position. It does not require a law degree, but it does require education in the law and some training within the law. Initially, upon acquiring the position, one selected by the great people of Collin County, I'll have to go through some continuing education training. Initially, it's from 60 to 80 hours of training, and every year thereafter will be 20 hours, which I'm sure will be ongoing, even greater than that amount. But that helps the person to become familiar with the law, the boundaries of the law, to be able to serve effectively and efficiently within the constraints of the law. The position requires dealing with truancy issues, requires dealing with tenant-landlord disputes, requires small claims court, anything under $20,000. I have happened to be in a court last week or 2 weeks ago now in Dallas with a mentor who has been a judicial judge for 29 years. And he was hearing a case dealing with employee commissions and pay. And he was making a decision or giving a ruling upon that case. And there's also traffic violations, driver's license revocations and things of that nature. So it's a pretty extensive work. Most people, when you think of the Justice of the Peace, you think of marrying people, which is a component of the role, but it's a very small component of that role. The role is very extensive, dealing with many areas within the community. I tell people that the average citizen will have more contact with the Justice of the Peace than they will with a judicial or county judge. Even though the other positions may make some rulings that affect us, the average citizen will have contact with a Justice of the Peace prior to having contact with a federal judge. You're in serious trouble if you're going before a federal judge for any reason.
That is absolutely phenomenal. That my audience, I don't have any comments, but my audience is definitely listening, understanding that what you said, that the average citizen, significant, is going to have more contact with a JP, contact with Irvin Barrett than a traditional federal judge or a state judge, because that's all those different things you talked about: traffic citations, truancy, small claims courts, those neighborhood disputes. That's usually because these are people that will be able to minister to in your court, minister to a sense of empathy, understanding, but also execution of the law with a sense of a Christ-like servant mindset to serve the people. And what you said, the average citizen, the typical citizens, the John Blows, the Joes Blows, the Deborahs, the Susan, the Bobs, all those average citizens that normally you don't see traditionally in your insurance agency or in your church. And now you get to see them in a different area and to be able to minister to them with compassion as well as with empathy and understanding. So significant. I am so honored to have you talk about that role. And because you talk about that role with such understanding, with such compassion, with such passion, and with such caring. And that's what we need as leaders, because leaders is about relationship. Leaders is about love. Leaders is about compassion. Leaders is about understanding. And leader is about serving God's people. When you don't see them as they are, you see them as they to become.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And we're hoping that we can offer solutions and answers to people. I say all the time, my role is to create better citizens, to help people through their circumstances. We do have to follow the restraints of the law, but we can do that with compassion. We can do that with empathy. We can do that so that we can help a person up as opposed to holding them down. And that's my entire focus when I help people.
I like another part, what you just stated. You offering solutions and you asking them what could you have done differently and helping them come up with their own solution. Because once they own it, and they most likely will apply it and abide by their own solution. But you there as a conduit, as an ear to listen and to ask particular questions, to move the needle in people's lives, to help them grow to become what? Great citizens. And that's what we all want. We want great citizens serving our community. Everyone wants to live in a very safe and secure community. Talk about the now. Let me move this right quick. Talk about some of the election day. Give us the timelines, because November the 8th, I believe, is the election date. But we need to do some things prior to November the 8th.
Yes.
Share with the citizen things we need to do prior to November the 8th.
Well, I hope first and foremost that all of us have gotten registered. We've checked our registration. Because of redistricting, there have been many changes. If you've moved, you need to make sure that you were registered. The only problem with that, yesterday, as of midnight, was the deadline for being registered. So I hope that all of us have taken care of that portion and that you're all set and you're ready to vote come early voting. Early voting starts October 24th, and we want to encourage people to exercise early voting. Don't wait until November the 8th, especially this election. This election is so crucial. If you vote early, you will be assured that your vote is in. You'll be assured that you'll beat the rush. You'll be assured that you're doing your part and you're making a difference in our society. People often seem to think, Jeff, that my vote doesn't count. Every vote counts. Every vote counts. You'll be surprised the number of races that have been won or lost by very small margins, meaning in the single digits in terms of numbers, meaning in the single digits in terms of percentage. That's why it's vitally important that people will vote, and as well that they vote down ballot. Now, a lot of people are planning on voting for governor, but it's important that people vote down ballot. Now, my race is one of the races that's at the bottom of the ballot. Now, we may have millions that are voting for governor, but in the case of the down ballot candidates, and most of the times there's a fall off. People either become impatient, either there's a lack of knowledge, or they feel they're not connected. Again, I want to piggyback on the point that was made previously, and as well, Professor, that you have made, that our interaction with the local candidates is greater than it is with any other candidate. The potential is there. If you have a dispute with your neighbor, that's going to come through the justice of the peace. You don't need an attorney for that. You can come in, fill out the paperwork, and that will be something that will be on the docket and dealt with at the justice of the peace level. And having that contact, having that knowledge, having that experience is vital. And so we encourage you to support local as well as supporting the state or top of the ballot candidates. The bottom of the ballot candidates need your support as well. There's some great people that's going to be at the bottom of the ballot. So come October 24th, when early voting starts, I hope and pray that there will be an overwhelming number of people that are there prepared to vote early, and as well that we will continue the trend throughout all of early voting, that people will get out, vote for the candidates of their choice, and that they will vote down ballot, which is vitally important. Please remember to vote down ballot and remember those candidates that's on the bottom of the ballot. We need your help and we need your support.
Absolutely. Put your website up there so people can see your website. Please go and visit his website. It's there as well, and I'll put his phone numbers there as well. Don't call him at midnight, but you have his phone number and you have his email address. But I'm suggesting maybe they should call you at midnight. Do you want? No,
sure.
I don't think he won't. No, call you.
There's a good likelihood I'll probably be up working anyway. So
be up working anyway, but that's his email address. That's his phone number for a while, and then I'm going to put his website back and allow that to scroll for a while as well. But Dr. Barrett, you mentioned something. You mentioned this word called knowledge. Knowledge of the candidates.
Yes.
Why is it important? Because sometimes people go in the booth blindfolded, even though their eyes are open, but it's blindfolded, lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
So how do you help the voting constituency? What do we need to do to become knowledge of the candidates?
Well, we need to make sure we take, and that's an outstanding question. We need to take time to make sure that we're informed. We need to be informed about our local our local politics. We need to be informed about our local agenda, whether there are bonds, whether there are bills that are being passed, whether there's school reform or whatever that is happening in our immediate neighborhoods. We need to be conscious of that and understand what exactly is taking place and what we're voting for. The problem with so many of us, and I've done it in the past myself, is that we go to the polling booth with a lack of knowledge, with a lack of information. We have not explored our candidates. We have not explored our options and our choices. We don't know what the bonds are, or the bills that are being passed on before us, or what the candidates stand for. Again, because we're only watching the tube or watching the national candidates or the high profile candidates, and we're not looking on the local level positions such as school boards, positions such as justice of the peace, positions again that are down ballot. We need to know these candidates. How do we know them? Go to the website. I've got a website. I've got a YouTube page, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the social media platforms where we try to interact with the public. I've tried to make sure that I go to block parties, precinct meetings. I've done a lot of door knocking, intend on doing a lot more in the next few weeks. Will I be able to reach all of the constituents within the Collin County Precinct 3 area? If I become the Bionic Man, possibly. And that ages me, because people may not even know who the Bionic Man is at this time. But the Superman maybe is another character that people may know. But to reach everyone is going to be next to impossible. But guess what? You can reach me through my website. You can reach me through social media. You can see what I stand for and what I have stated and what my platform is. There's videos there, and people can reach me directly. They can connect with me directly. I respond to emails. Every email, I answer my own calls. I do interact with people through social media. And again, because I do want to know people, I want to be familiar with the constituents in the Collin County area. I want you to know that I'm accessible and I'm available to try to do what I can within the restraints of confinement that I have to operate within, but we want to be accessible.
Absolutely. Accessible. Keyword accessibility.
Yes.
You are there for the people. The common theme I'm hearing, that you are there for the people. You are here to serve. Jesus came to serve, not to be served.
Yes.
So you are taking on that mantra of leading like Jesus. I come to serve you. Absolutely. I'm going to put your email address and phone number and let that scroll for a while as well. But I
Perfect.
want to kind of not segue, but in the midst of all the glory things that we see right now, because we
Hmm.
see a lot of Irvin Barrett's glory, all those great things that you degrees, doctorate degrees, getting a bachelor's, getting a master's, pastoral for 30 years. It's been wonderful, wonderful thing. But guess what? There's always been trials in people's lives. There's always.
Yes.
And you talked about being authentic and being real and being relevant. And leaders are authentic and they're real and they're relevant. Talk about some challenges that you may have had and how those challenges impacted and shaped your thinking today.
Well, this question I greatly appreciate because I think that it is our trials, our tests, our troubles that shape us into the person that we are. They don't come to break us, they come to make us. And I've had some makeable situations in my life. Lost my dad early, who was a very key figure in my life. My dad died when I was 16. And at that time, I wasn't really ready to be a man, but I surely wasn't a boy anymore. But I had to quickly develop into some areas and aspire and be the man that he wanted me to be. It was challenging and difficult because the love for my dad was great, and so navigating through that wasn't easy. But there were many things that he had instilled within me that I was able to recall and utilize, implement into my life to develop into the man that I am today, and I'm grateful for that. Um, Ministry, I tell people all the time, and I preach about it in sermons, that church and ministry hasn't always been favorable. There's been some challenges, but again, those challenges have made me stronger and made me better. It has equipped me to deal with situations and circumstances. I know hurt, I know pain, I know sorrow, I know struggle, and in knowing that, I think that it has equipped me to deal with people in those various areas better. I've got love in my heart for mankind, for all people, and I think that that's key. And I want to stress that for all people. I don't buy into the bias that many desire to box us into. I love all people. I love all mankind. I want to see good for all mankind. I want to see all people aspire. I want to see people develop into the roles that they desire. I believe that we can do that. I believe that we can love each other, that we can support each other, that we can be there for each other and make a difference for one another. I believe that that's what God wants us to do. I also believe that we can make our own choices. That we don't need others making choices and decisions for us. We don't need anyone dictating to us how we should live or how we should grow or how we should give. We have that right and should have that right, that unalienable right to decide what is best in our own lives. And I think that over the course of time, I have grown to that level and appreciate the fact that my experiences over these many years, and you can do the math of pastoring for 30 years, and even though I like to say I started as a small boy, the fact of the matter is it's not as true as it might seem. I've had some experiences, and I've got or maybe I should say I've had the hair to prove it, and the scars to prove it as well. I don't have the hair anymore. It's going quick.
That absolutely. I love your transparency. I love you sharing some of those things and challenges, especially losing your dad at a very early age, and that is traumatic, especially for a young man. Absolutely. So yeah, I can't even imagine you going through that. All of a sudden, you're 15, 16 years of age, and you're losing your dad, and all of a sudden now you're the man. You got to be the man. And I sometimes I share the story that my father shared with me when I
Hmm.
was growing up, and that my grandfather passed away in 1922. My father was the oldest of all the children, and he was
Mm.
11 years of age. And at that moment, he became the man of the
Wow.
house at 11 years
Wow.
of age. And so my father never really had a childhood because he's now responsible for this is 1922, and now he's
Hmm.
responsible for taking care of his mom and his siblings, and the oldest, and putting food on the table and doing what he had to do. in
Yeah.
1922. So
Wow.
of course, obviously, he didn't share a lot of that with me, but he talked about that and I can watch the way he raised me by
Mm-hmm.
being serious, being focused, because when you don't have a childhood, that's what you have to do. And
Exactly.
no,
Exactly.
we are made to work. My last one for you, I want you to give us a chapter of a book. If a book was written about you, what would be the title of the book, and what would be the summary?
Wow. That's a great question, and I think it would definitely have to uh, encompass the fact that I'm a public servant, and I've been a public servant. I think that humility would have to be there. I think compassion would have to be expressed, um, and I also think that love would be a major part of that book. Um, the title, um, and being put on the spot and see how quick my mind works. The title would probably be the selfless man, the selfless man, one that has sacrificed for the sake of others, one that has given for the sake of others, one that has a lifelong mission for helping others. And I think that a very quick story I had during the time that I was in Chicago. It was a cold winter night, and there were some men of my church that were helping me to my car. I would always travel heavy, had a lot of things, and as they were putting things in my car, I noticed that one of the men didn't have a coat on. I said, "Where's your coat? Where's your gloves?" He said, I don't have a coat. I don't have any gloves." I said, "Well, it's too cold not to have a coat, not to have gloves." And I had just purchased a um, full length leather jacket. I had leather gloves, um, and I had wanted it for a long time. I loved it, and the Spirit spoke to me and said, "Give him your coat, give him your gloves." And I said, "Okay." So as I got in the car, I said, "Let me get in the car. Let me make sure the car's warm." I took off my coat, I took off my gloves, and I gave it to him, and he was totally shocked and blown away. Um, and I went home without a coat, without gloves, um, because I wanted to help him and I wanted to pour into his life. Now, that wasn't the only coat that I had. And I probably later went and bought another coat similar, if not the same. But the fact is, my heart went out to him because he was giving himself to me. He was serving me and doing it happily without something that he needed for those conditions. And so I was willing to let go of what I had to bring him to a higher level and to pour into him. So I think that that is something that can be and should be said about who I am and what I have done over the course of years. I'm a giver. I am compassionate. I'm loving. I try to be kind to people, and I try to give the best that I can in the lives of others. So I hope that's a good snapshot.
Absolutely. It came to my mind when Jesus asked Peter, "Peter, do you love me?"
Do
Of
you love
course I
me?
love you.
Yeah,
Peter, do you love me?
yeah,
Come on now. You know I love you.
yeah,
Peter, do you love me? And if you do, feed my children, serve my people.
yeah,
And tells me
yeah,
that you love Jesus. Why? Because you're feeding his people and you're serving his people.
yeah,
And so it has been an honor, Dr. Barrett, to have you on the show today. Ladies and gentlemen, follow his advice. Love on God's people. Love on your
yeah,
neighbor. Go out and serve your community. Make sure you cast your ballot. Make sure you're informed about the candidates. Make sure you vote the down ballot, not just the state and all the others and national elected officials, but the down ballot. As he stated earlier, you're going to have more contact with the justice of the peace and those folks on the down ballot, the school board officials and the school board trustees, than you're going to have with those state and national candidates. So make sure you vote the down ballot. But before you go into that booth, make sure you're registered. Make sure that you can cast your ballot early if you so desire, but make sure that you're well informed.
yes,
Information becomes your knowledge. Information becomes your power. And vote your values. Vote your heart. Vote your love. And that's what he's asking us to do. He's not asking you to cast his vote for him. He's asking you to cast your vote and loving and caring, and kind. That's his advice. So thank you for the lesson today, Dr. Barrett. Reverend Dr. Irvin Barrett, you has been an absolute honor having you on this show today. So my challenge to you, ladies and gentlemen, follow his advice. Tune into my show next week. That way you can grow to be the best version of yourself. Because the best gift that you and I can give our family and our community is the best version of ourselves. So I challenge you to tune in next week. If you're not tuning into this show next week, make sure you listen and replay Dr. Barrett's show from this week. That way you are prepared and you continue reinforcing the knowledge he has shared with us today. Remember, 2022, the year of no excuses. We must inspire until we expire. Out and be blessed. See you next week.